Michelle Holling-Brooks here, and I am the creator of Unbridled Change and the Sacred Witness Oracle. And I'm so excited to bring to you our May reading for the month. So I'm recording this on May 2nd, which happens to be National or really International Labyrinth Day. And labyrinths are a huge part of my own spiritual journey and have been around really for a very, very long time of helping people be able to engage in their own journey of witnessing, allowing, and seeing. And so I thought it would be a fun way to take this card draw with the Sacred Witness Oracle Suite and allow ourselves to really dive into a unique spread that is, if you want to work with labyrinths, whether that's the physical labyrinth or like a finger labyrinth or even journaling as if you were working with a labyrinth, what would be a spread that you could use to really dive deeply into that journey, into that work? So let's dive in. I actually totally just did a live on this and I forgot to hit record. So I'm kind of coming back in and re-recording it again. And so those of you who joined me live, you got the special edition that is only for you all because I totally forgot to hit record. But that's okay. We are rolling with it and allowing ourselves to be a part of that. So let us dive in to labyrinth works. So labyrinths are, like I was saying, the journey of how do we want to consciously engage with a thought, a question, something that we're wrestling with, and ultimately step into our lives with more willingness to be in alignment with what it is that we are seeking or looking to engage or create with. And so, in that place, when we are allowing ourselves to be in that joy, in that laughter, when we allow ourselves to consciously come into that place of co creation, labyrinth work can really be helpful because it's designed to help us slow down. It's designed to quiet the outside noise so that we can go inward, so that we can open ourselves up to the different ways that understanding what and how we're showing up, what are the different mental constructs that we're stuck in that might or might not be serving us, are we willing to change, and then ultimately what choices, what actions will best serve us if we start to allow ourselves to work with whatever it is that we walked into that labyrinth with differently. So the basic idea of labyrinth work, it's not a maze. It's not designed to trick us up or to see if we can't figure out our way through. A labyrinth is designed to help us reflect. And each time it makes a switchback. I don't know if you can see over here. So you come in with a question. I'm on a journey to engage my life with more willingness for dot, 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 whatever that is. And as you start to walk through, you allow yourself to reflect. This is what I want, this is what I like, this is what I'm afraid of, this is what I feel in and around my body with that. Especially if you have one like this, it's broken into 4 sections. You can allow yourself to reflect on that. How do I feel about that in my body? What do I feel about that in my mind with my protective fears and worries and wants, my personal wants, wishes? What does my heart and my soul say about that? What does my ability to let go of my expectations? These are some of the questions that we'll be talking about in this spread. But each time we make one of these passes, it invites us to, as we make the turn physically, to allow our mind to turn and see a new, quote, view on the fence post. See it from a new perspective, ask what else is here, allowing ourselves to go deeper and deeper into what is really motivating us with that question, what are our real fears with that question, and if we agree to let it go and work with our heart, what does our heart have to say about that question? What type of guidance will our heart be bringing us into? And so every time, whether we're tracing it just like I'm doing with the mouse right now, or with our eyes, and we ask ourselves that, we can pause, we can feel into the body, we can move again when we feel willingness. And I love the word willingness with labyrinth work because to me, that's what a labyrinth really helps us engage with, is where we feel willingness and where we feel restriction, where we feel avoidance, where we feel fight energy in our system. And then ultimately helping us step into that place in the middle, that place for surrender, that place for receiving support, And as we sit there, are we willing to let go of all the things that are holding us in the known so that we can open to the blessings, the willingness, the joy, the laughter that is trying to come forward if we can hold whatever it is we step into that labyrinth with differently, the question, the outcome, the expectations. And as we work our way back out, we don't just walk out, although I've done that in a labyrinth before because I was like, nope, this is too big, and not ready. And rinse and repeat many, many times in some labyrinth works. I have a story. In some of my courses, I share that story, but I won't bore you here today with it. But as we begin to work our way out of the labyrinth, we can ask ourselves, okay, if I'm willing to move forward with this, how are the different ways that I'm going to try to trip myself up for? What are my fears? What are my worries? What are my expectations? What are the things that I really want to have happen? If it doesn't happen, what will I feel about myself? We start to really allow ourselves to focus with each one of those steps and each one of these switchbacks to allowing ourselves to distill down the choice that will bring us one step closer to that which we're working for. And when we can do that, we start to feel like, hey, it's not so big. There are small incremental steps that we can set an intention to and we can take action on. And they might be a mindset shift, they might be a heart shift, they might be tending to a part of us that needs tending to. And it might also be giving breath, life, excitement, a runway, so to speak, to the choices that do want to be made. So starting to movement towards the creation cycle of whatever new thing wants to come in, allowing ourselves to let go of the definition of the past. And so right here, if you're following with my cursor, when we go to hop over and come out of the labyrinth, we really are asking ourselves, am I willing to let go of who I was before I came in this labyrinth and allow myself to be something new, to be someone new? It might definitely include aspects of me from 2.5 seconds ago. It might include the wisdom and the strength and the foundations of what created me. But the way I fundamentally hold myself, review myself, am I willing to let that change? Am I willing to let myself be with myself, my life, and the people that are in it in a new type of alignment? Am I willing to realign myself from what was to what is and what wants to become? And when we do that, we take a nice deep breath in and out and we say yes. We think of that action step that's coming forward. We step over that line and we have an opportunity to live from that place forward, breaking free from the old karmic rhythms and allowing ourselves to say, this is something new that wants to be there. Willingness to be with ourselves and our lives and the circumstances of our lives. So while we were in that labyrinth, chances are the circumstances of our lives have not changed. What changes is the way in which it's held within us, the pathways that we're using to perceive it, and are we willing to use something new? I have a favorite quote by Carolyn Mace, who is one of my teachers. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a certified archetypal consultant through Carolyn Mace's school. And she says that self-esteem is a protective firewall. As it matures into self-reverence, a deep regard for the power of your soul and all that you are capable of influencing by thought, action, prayer, and love. So as we come out of this labyrinth, what we've been able to glean, to reconnect with, to allow ourselves to build by acknowledging the different pieces of us, the different aspects of us, the different fears and worries, and giving compassion and love and grace and blessing to those parts, we start to have that self-reverence. And with that self-reverence comes a beautiful self-regard. And with self-regard comes a ability to make choices that literally will influence the way we see ourselves, the way we think about ourselves, the actions that we take, and ultimately how then we can hold grace for others, not taking things personal, being true to our own inner guidance and trusting and knowing that even if that guidance goes against somebody else's wants, wishes, and desires, that we honor that self-reverence and regard, which I love her thing that says self. It's that firewall, and it's a true soul protective firewall instead of the often egoic based one that actually narrows us down, restricts our lives, makes it smaller, and takes us out of being who we truly are. Okay, so that's what labyrinths can do. What are the type of questions then that you can bring? Let me move myself around here to labyrinth work. That's a great question. If you've ever been in the divination field, you know that the art is in the question, including therapy field. The art is definitely in the type of questions. We can lead ourselves into a dead end, or we can open ourselves up into more expansion and choices with the questions that we have. So a labyrinth again is about a journey. It's not a one and done. I had that silly thought in my head. It's not so silly. It's often taught to us in the New Age world that we do one meditation, one pass, one good integration, one good clearing, and the whole heavens aligned. Labyrinths are designed to be in that true spiritual practice of reflection, of allowing ourselves to be and slow down and to allow that awareness to come in. And so the questions that I like to do is when I'm working with labyrinths is to bring in the word journey. And so I'm on a journey to transform my relationship because that's everything is in relationship. I truly believe that. And all the client work that I do out here is we help understand that it's, the kinks and the hose are in the ways that we have programs that teach us to be in how we relate to ourselves, how we relate to another, how we relate to ourselves as a business person or professional, how we relate to ourselves in a role of a family member, how we relate to ourselves in a community member. Like there's always this relational aspect to, and all of our wounds happen in relationship. So I like to put that word in because it reminds us what the system that we're trying to rearrange in here and to bring more freedom, softness, openness, and feeling that it can be in alignment with who we truly are is really about relationship to ourselves, to our lives, and therefore out to others. So I'm on a journey to transform my relationship with willingness to. And I put the word willingness in all of my spreads and what I encourage clients to do because it really is a pillar of what I call the bridge of connection, which means I can force myself through a mindset. I'm going to think this, and I'm basically arm wrestling myself into my life. It's not going to hold, it's not kind, it sets me up for extra shame and blame. And if I have anything that's not 100% whatever my intention was, or that thought was, or that affirmation was, if I don't feel that I'm 100% in alignment with that, I'm really setting myself up for inner shame and blame and self-victimizing. And so willingness is the antidote to that. When I step into something and I'm willing to try, I release that huge poison of perfectionism. And I say, you know what? I'm willing to try to follow the lead of my heart. I'm willing to do that based off of trusting myself that I'm going to say what I mean and mean what I say. So I'm going to show up for myself, come heck or high water, and on the good day, it might look like this level, but if it's a really low day, it's just this much. But at least I'm showing up in some capacity on that scale for myself. And when I find myself completely going, whoops, totally got that one wrong, missed that one, I can love myself and just say, I'm willing to come back to center again. So it takes that poison of perfection, the poison of potential, like I should be able to do X, Y, and Z. Well, okay, in theory, we all have potential, but that doesn't mean that I have access to that in my nervous system. It doesn't mean I have access to that in my mental belief system. It doesn't mean I have access to that. There's little birds on the ceiling, the window seals around me right now. So it's kind of really perfect for what we're talking about to be able to hear that part of my heart because it might be too cut off by an ocean of past pain, separation, anxiety, all of that. So, can I give myself a little bit of love and compassion? Can I have respect for myself, regards for myself? Do I agree that I'm going to show up for that reflection in a way that honors me instead of fillets me? And then when I'm doing that, I'm willing to connect. And what do I want to connect to? Well, that could be the question. I'm on a journey to transform my relationship with willingness to connect to receiving more joy. Please help me get insights into that. The insights are in the next 4 cards that we're about ready to draw in this spread. willingness to engage with blessings. And that's going to be the topic we're going to use for this one, but you can pick whichever one you want if you want to do this spread on your own with either my deck, the Sacred Witness Oracle, um, uh, or you can pick another deck. I will say though, for the spread that I'm doing, if you have a deck that's only like affirmation light, more like trying to make you feel good and not shadow work based, the spread probably will not work well with that particular deck because it needs to be one that's willing to work in wholeness. It's willing to work with the light and the shadow, and knowing that when we bring light to the shadow, it gives us a place to heal, to witness, to transform, and open up to the medicine in that wound and allow that medicine to activate a soul medicine within us. So as long as you've got a deck that does that, then you could probably definitely bring this to that deck. If not, you can get the Sacred Witness Oracle deck, which does just that. It's a soul work deck that is based in shadow work practices, but also allows us to connect to with the joy that's within us. Hence, receive the joy that's in there. Connecting with your own guidance is another beautiful one to work with labyrinths on, because believe it or not, we have protectors that don't actually want us to hear our heart or our soul clearly because it feels like it's going to upset the status quo. It's going to bring us into the unknown. And our mind is just designed to stay in the status quo. And it kind of poo-poos, marginalizes, pokes holes in, makes fun of, does all the things that it can do to try to get us not to believe in our own inner guidance. It's going to take us into quote uncharted waters or what feels like that, because it's trying to protect us. It's trying to keep us in what it knows how to approach. It knows how to package ourselves. And when we grow, it doesn't know what that's going to look like, and our ego just struggles with that. So we can give some love to that, and with the 4 questions can help us do that. Forgiveness, mm, Labyrinth, my labyrinth journey. I spent a year working in different labyrinths with forgiveness. I knew there was something I needed to forgive. I knew I needed to hold differently the past and the circumstances that I viewed, parts of me viewed, had really created a lot of hardship and pain and suffering in my life, because people were stuck in their pain and just doing what they did, and that I was collateral damage for that. And so there was just this huge piece that didn't want to forgive. And so in and out of labyrinth, I went over and over working with that, and with a lot of help from the quote universe of helping me recognize why I was holding on to that, and how I had to let that go. Because ultimately, if I didn't bring in that forgiveness energy, that medicine of forgiveness, then I was holding myself hostage, waiting for somebody else to have their growth, their journey, for me to have my healing. And it lovingly helped me recognize that that wasn't very kind to myself. And it ultimately was condemning the rest of my life, right? So forgiveness is definitely a topic that you can work with Labyrinth Works in. I think it works beautifully, from personal experience. It's been a huge piece for me. And then also taking committed action and or stepping into co-creating. So if you have received that guidance and you've done that work in forgiveness and you're at that place where you're like, okay, I just need to do the thing, but you find yourself like stalling out decision and fatigue or work paralysis or whatever you want to call that, that procrastination piece coming in, and for whatever reason, you're just not able to, quote, take that leap and step into action, allow the dominoes and the flow to start coming in. That's a beautiful thing to bring to a labyrinth, because a labyrinth has action with it. You have to physically usually go to a location for one. You have to be willing to walk and deal with other people as they're walking. Sometimes you can find it when you're all alone, or some places even have like scheduled times to work with them. But so there's that. If you're doing a finger labyrinth, you have to be willing to pull out the labyrinth and trace it and to work with it, or print it, or trace it with coloring or with a mouse. And so there's actual action involved, and you get to feel that resistance of your body being like, oh, I don't want to get into that car right now, or ooh, I drove here, but I don't want to get out of the car, or I'm looking at it and all I got to do is put my little finger down on it and it's not happening. And it becomes a great metaphor for you to be able to see just where that resistance is, love it, bring some awareness, education, and understanding to yourself, and then break it down into a step that you're able to engage with and start to work with. So those are samples, questions. Like I said, again, we're going to focus on this one, engaging in the blessings as we work with it. So here's the spread that I would like to share. Whoops, where am I going to move me? I'm going to move me. I'm going to make myself smaller. Sorry. um, maybe it won't let me. Hold on. I think I hid my camera so it's not blocking you from seeing the spread. Um, so on this labyrinth spread is a journey in awareness, understanding, acceptance, realignment. I put the word realignment in there because it helps us consciously remember that at some point, whatever it is we're up to, whatever it is we're trying to unwind and realign in our labyrinth work or in our shadow work, at some point we really need to honor that it was exquisite in what we did. I love that word. It came from my spiritual director. I used a word that we did things for beautiful reasons, and she added in the word exquisite. And once I felt that word, I was like, oh, that is the energy that we're really talking about here, which is that we have to give grace to ourselves and realize that while we could say that we should have made other choices and that there were other choices available to us, we need to honor that that's not necessarily true. That the choices that we made, the way we chose to show up, the habits that we've created, we chose because that was the one that we felt would best help us survive, meet the challenges that were unique to the place that we were planted, and allow ourselves to have as much grace and ease as possible at that time. Now, some of those exquisite reasons are slightly problematic. They don't actually honor ourselves because they're more survival tribal based. And so the journey of awakening and healing that a labyrinth invites us into will invite us to realign that, to say, okay, this worked here, but is it working for me now? And it probably really didn't work on the grand scheme of things back in the day, but it's really, really problematic now. And if I keep living from this place, I am sacrificing and self-victimizing myself. And if I want to let that go, I need to be willing to realign my whole system into a new way of being. And so into courageous action, as I like to call it. So the first card in the spread, the number one card, is when we start to enter into that labyrinth, is what are the main ways that I will sabotage my journey? We all have within us the different ways, and I'll bring myself back. Hello. We all have within us different ways that we will sabotage ourselves when we are stepping into something new. And why do we do that? Because we're about ready to change the power dynamic in our lives from however we set it up based off of those old rules. This is who you need to be. This is how you need to be. This is who you are in relationship to the world. And if I agree to those, I'm safe. Well, most of those are based off of tribal settings. So the place that we were planted in, if we were a tree that we didn't know we were planting ourselves there, something planted us there. What was that environment that we were planted in? So it's like, help me be aware and understand the ways that I am going to sabotage myself because some part of me is going to get nervous. I'm about to change the power dynamic in my life, internally and externally. Some of the people in my life will celebrate that and be like, this is amazing. And some people in my life are not going to be okay with it because it requires them to shift too. And if we especially are trying to give back some stuff that's not ours to hold and only working with our backpack, then that really gets in there for some people. So we need to know it. We need to know all the ways. We personally just don't want to do it. I don't want to be responsible for what I have to quote energetically pay and resources and time and treasure and talents. I'm worried that somebody else is going to be this, that, and the other. Like we've got to name it and tame it and do the yeah buts. Yeah, but this, but yeah, but that. And if I do this, then all those fears, all those worries, all those ways our mind just tries to right off the bat throw everything it can at it so that we basically say, this is too much. We get overwhelmed and we calm down. So if we name it and just allow ourselves to do that messy version of this is what's up right now, that's actually huge for us because then we are able to say, okay, system, I get it. I get it. This is scary. And I get it. This is going to require me to, like, adult in some way, shape, form, or fashion. This is going to require me to hold boundaries that I might be uncomfortable with. And yet, this is something I want to do. So it moves us into acceptance. So the second card in the spread is designed to, on one of those switchbacks, bring us in as we're working our way towards the center. What do I need to let go of to give life um, to my journey? And I like this way that this question channeled through, to give life to my journey. The journey is already there. It's already within us. The healing, the wellness, the way we want to unwind and give birth to something new, right? It's already there. The question is, are we going to allow our life force energy to flow to it? And we can compassionately say it's scary. We know why we don't, and we might not know how. We might not know what that looks like. But am I willing to let go of a belief system, a wound, a way that I'm holding a wound? What is it that I need to let go of in order to allow my life force energy to flow, to gift that to myself when I am on my journey to transform, in this case, my willingness to be and engage with blessings? So we've got to let go of something, because we can't just keep adding as much as we like to do that. We have to clean out the junk drawer, so to speak, and bring in and make fresh room for something new to come in. And so that's the second card. We're kind of now at the center of the labyrinth. And we are at that place where card number three, as we start to stand up and we say, okay, I really am willing to let this go. And we stand up and we start to say, I'm wanting to move forward. I'm willing to let this go. Here we go. We got to do one last little check. And that check is, what are the hidden expectations or desires do I need to let go of in order to reach my journey of transformation? In this case, willingness to engage with blessings. You would have your question of choice if you're doing a spread on your own. This third question holds so much grace. Keys to the kingdom. This is the piece that honestly, in my very early journey, I was missing. I would set intentions, I would do my things, I would do my practices, and then I'd be like, and why do I still feel unsatisfied? Why do I feel restriction? Why do I not feel joy and happiness and everything? And, if something, quote, bad happened in my life, it was like, oh, I don't understand. I set the intention, I did the thing, and I was just making myself crazy. And what I realized is that I had hidden expectations. I had desires that if the universe didn't provide me something that matched that, if the guidance that I heard in my heart didn't match a way that I could logically get myself to my expectation or my desire, or somebody else to match that, then I would think it wasn't working, and I would think that I was doing it wrong, or I wasn't good enough, or I hadn't healed enough. And I would just start this whole shame and blame cycle all over again, and so heavy on myself. This true poison of perfectionism was happening. And so if we understand what our hidden expectations are, we can say, of course a person would want that. Of course I would love that. And we also then acknowledge too that I don't know what I don't know. So, what I view as possible and what the universe views as possible can be two vastly different things, because I've never experienced it. It's like a child, if you say, hey, did you know that you can mix blue and red together and get purple? They would be like, no, purple's in the crayon, it's its own color. They just don't know that you can create purple, right? They don't know that that's possible. And yet it is possible, it is true. It's just not available to that being right there because they haven't learned it. They haven't seen what two ingredients can come together and create something beyond those two ingredients, right? And as we start to really let go and start to work with what a labyrinth can bring to us, we start to realize that our hidden expectations and our desires can do just that. They can really limit us. And one, we don't want to poo-poo them and tell them that they don't have value or worth or merit. Of course they do. And yet we need to soften our attachment to them, surrender and let go of them so that we can be with what is and what's becoming, that honestly, most of the time is beyond what we can think is possible in a situation. It brings in magic, it brings in grace, it brings in more air to our system, that element of air. Oh, feels so good. Okay, so the fourth card is that right as we're making our way towards that exit, and we're starting to reflect on, as I leave this labyrinth, who do I want to be? And how do I want to walk into my life again? Who and how do I want to be with it? We ask that question, what actions or new perceptions will support me in my journey? Continuing that, allowing that to come forward. And as we do that, we allow ourselves to be able to lovingly honor what was and give life to what wants to become. We get that guidance, we get that point of view, and we say, okay, I'm going to go work with that. You go work with it for a week, you come back to the labyrinth, so to speak, and you try again. And rinse and repeat as you allow more and more freedom, more and more resolution, unwinding and allowing and growth to happen with each pass through the quote labyrinth or reflection or working with it. Um, and you can keep the spread the same for each one through as you're still working on a question, or you can refine it, bringing new cards in to these same question marks as you are working. Take a little right my throat because now I'm on 1.5 hours of recording the same thing. Okay, so here we go. Into our journey we are going. So I'm on a journey to engage my life with more willingness to, and feel free to insert a personal one here. For the interest of the recording and today's maze reading, we are going to do more willingness to engage with the medicine of blessing, blessing myself, my life, and others. So just take a moment to breathe in and breathe out. Just imagine that you're stepping over into this beautiful labyrinth and we're starting to work our way through. And that first card that we're going to bring forward is myself right there. That willingness to, what are the main ways that I will sabotage my journey? So the card that came forward is number 22, and it sits in the body being. And this is that our body can share with us what it is we want, what it is we like, what it is we desire. And the animal medicine that wanted to come forward for this one was crow. And crows are notorious for creating connections to shiny objects, to things that they like, and they want to collect them. So they just want them. They don't serve any purpose for them other than they make them happy and they like them. But then they also love to share them. So crow medicine likes to share what it collects and what it likes and what it loves with other people. And so when this card comes forward, it asks us just in general to explore what is our relationship with our personal wants. And for this spread, how will we sabotage our journey with being able to engage with blessings is we often have been taught what it is a personal want is. So most of us in our tribe have been taught that we're supposed to release our personal wants and our wants should match the people around us. If so and so likes the color red, we should like the color red. If so and so doesn't like this person, we shouldn't like this person. So we're not allowed to have personal wants. And then the way to get us to keep from having them is they use shame. The tribe uses shame against us to get us to put down our likes, our wants, our desires, our own thoughts and ideas and what that is. So the first thing with this card would be, what is your relationship with personal wants? Historically, is this something that's been allowed to be there? Has it been made fun of for the being there? And so do you have protective mechanisms that keep you from even saying that this has a right to be there? The other piece that if you read in the guidebook about that, this is a beautiful guidebook. If you haven't seen it, it's of like a book size. So it's like 6 by 9. And it's got spiral binding so it can lay flat. Oh, I love this product so much. is that it asks you then to say, okay, if I allow myself to have a personal self, what is it that I want? What is it that I like? What is it that I want to create? So often we've created a life that actually doesn't match who we have become. It might match who we were. It might match somebody else that we gave this power to, getting the right to dictate. And so now the question is, what is it that our heart is wanting? What do we want to engage with, to collect, to learn, to develop? And how do we want to share that with others? Right? So, and what we will do often to sabotage this with our blessings is right there, we'll hit another place where what if this makes so and so happy? What if they don't understand it? What if they don't like it? What if they don't hold it the same way? So that would be a place to reflect with this card. And then the last piece that this card brings forward in the reflections in the guidebook is that idea that we get really stuck and we just get collecting and collecting and we don't allow it to flow through us. And we don't also allow the universe to be like, hey, that would really be a good thing not to be trying to bring back to the nest, so to speak. Like, can we let that go? There's something that would be better aligned for you. And so the other way we can sabotage ourselves with our personal wants is that we get really attached to what we want, and therefore we don't allow our guidance to share that with us. That's a different spec. So as you're making your way through that labyrinth, just think of that. Do a couple switchbacks with it, and now we're coming to the second card in the drawing. The second card in the drawing belongs in the heart being of the section, so this is governed by our heart. And our heart helps not only hold our hopes and our desires, our wants and our wishes, but it's also how we can sense with aspects of us that have been exiled, pushed away, marginalized, or demonized in our mind for whatever reason, and exiled. Our heart holds them and waits for us to be able to find them. So the card that came forward, what do I need to let go of to give life to my journey, is the way that I hold my unresolved wounds. So it's card number 40 and it sits in the heart beam. And when you first look at this, I'm going to make this big for right now. When you first look at this card, it looks like water, but I'm inviting you to look closer. There are two things that you might notice. Is it's not just water that's surrounding this beautiful sea turtle. That's a net. And the sea turtle has had to learn how to swim with that net, weighing it down, restricting its movements. And this is often the way our wounds are when somebody first glances at us, they're like, oh, look at that, amazing person swimming along, doing their thing. And yet they don't see. They don't see the parts that we're holding and working with. And so often we can get really interesting within how we hold these wounds. And we get so used to dragging them along and not seeing them. Sometimes we don't even see them. This is fine. I'm fine. I figured it out. It's all good. Sometimes we get nervous and I don't know how to swim if I get rid of this. I don't know how to do life. And so with this second card is how do you need to let go of them? Well, we'll always have wounds. This card doesn't say it's about making them free. It's about one, lessening the load for sure. So loosening up as many of these knots, taking off as much of this net as possible. But two, then changing, how do I want to hold my wounds? How do I want to work with them? And can I shift and change and let go of maybe unhealthy ways that were keeping me from engaging with blessing? So often we feel really interesting sense of loyalty to our wounds, and therefore we do not allow ourselves or feel worthy to engage with current blessings because we're still doing some interesting things with like penance or judgments or worth around the wounds that we've experienced, forgetting that many of our wounds come as collateral damage. This turtle did not put this net in this ocean, but yet it got caught in it. So that is also metaphor to look at with this card. And does that mean that, well, this guy was silly and he shouldn't have gotten caught in the net, and so therefore dot dot dot? Or can we let that go and bring in a different way? We change the way we align ourselves with our unresolved wounds and how we want to work with them. And if we change that and we start to follow that guidance and allow ourselves to hold them differently, what type of life will that bring to how I engage with life? What air, life force energy. And so just take a moment. We are at the center of this labyrinth now at this point. We've done a couple little switchbacks and reflections. We've worked our way. And are you willing to let those things shift? Say, I know that a part of me is scared, nervous, unsure, doesn't want to be embarrassed, doesn't want to get anybody mad, doesn't want to fail. I don't want to add any more wounds. I don't know if anybody else will understand how I want to live and work with blessings, but I'm willing to say that I want to let that go. So we're standing up and we're starting to work our way out of the labyrinth. And we're going to pause and we're going to draw card number 3. We're going to ask, what hidden expectations or desires do I need to let go of so that I can continue with my journey? And we've got card number 5, and it sits in the Sacred Witness Oracle part of the deck, which is like the major arcana for this deck of kind of like a tarot. So it's the bigger archetypal power patterns that work with the power of the Sacred Witness. And so this one is Calm and Remembrance, and it brings in the energy power and essence of Crocus. And so I think that this card is brilliant for coming into the 3rd spot because it is a hidden expectation. We do want calm, peace, excitement, joy, happiness. Like that is our intention. Like, why do we do all this work? Because we want more wellness, we want more joy, we want happiness, we want abundance of physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, all the above, right? We don't go into this work saying, I want good enough. Like we do want our parts of our life. We want people in our life to show up that we desperately want to stay in connection with and have deeper connections. We want career stuff. We want health and wellness. We want the whole thing, right? If we had that life wheel of life of all those different wedges of life, we want that. And we want certain people to be in those wedges with us and to be in relationship with us. And why wouldn't we, right? Why wouldn't we want that? And that's what I like to remind myself with this 3rd card. It's like whatever it is we feel we want, and this one it came forward as calm. There's a huge myth out there. The more light work we do, the more healing work we do, our life will get beautiful gumdrops and roses, ease and grace, and we won't have adverse experiences. The grit of Earth School will go away. And that is a myth that honestly I bought into, and I worked hard, and it brought out the perfection, a poison of that, the potential poison, the possibilities poison. Because whenever I felt something that wasn't in that protection possibility potential place, I felt like, oh, what am I doing wrong? I'm such a failure. I can't get this right. I don't get clear guidance. I don't get this and I don't get that. I must have had a negative thought somewhere that produced that and gave permission to the universe to treat me that way. And I just, oh, it was so much self-harm. Oh, let it go. Because that expectation of perfection and of being able to be in that place is just toxic to us. And it's like toxic positivity and it's toxic spirituality, and it's not possible. And so I think it's so brilliant that this card came forward for this one because Crocus energy says, hey, have the courage to be in your divine timing in your way of being, knowing that you're going to be asked to work with environments and circumstances that aren't always optimal. Because a crocus, if you ever know where this little flower pops up, is it's the entrance kind of spring, and it pops up oftentimes before you think it should. It's still snowy on the ground. The weather is kind of like today. It's like it was 80 degrees earlier in the week. Now it's like close to 50 on a good moment of in the sun. It's windy. It's like a little adverse. And the flower itself of a crocus is very delicate. It's like this little trumpet tubular that's like kind of there holding, and it looks like it shouldn't be able to hold, but it actually can. And you can kind of see it right there, and allowing yourself to be in that process and in that work. And that's us. A lot of times we are given guidance to pop up and start shining and being in circumstances that to parts of us might be like, why am I popping up now? Like, this is still like adverse weather. Everything's not perfect. I'm kind of on the hillside, or I'm in a gravelly spot. I don't feel like I'm planted in the place that's got all the protection that I need. And yet we're being cued to live, to bloom, to be in the fullness of ourselves, even though the circumstances are not perfect. And are we willing to do that? That's the hidden expectation. And so the word remembrance wanted to come with this pattern. It sits in the sacred witness part because it is a major remembrance that the calm comes from within us. So as long as Crocus is saying, I am here and I am been guided to pop up right now, and I'm holding my own, and I know that I have within me the internal strength and structure to work with whatever's happening around me, I feel strong, I feel calm, I feel confident, I feel blessed. And that's the energy that Crocus wants to be. If we forget that, if we don't remember that, then we lose that inner sense of calm. And now we're in this place of like regret, shame, blame, like, who got me here? How did I get here? Somebody in the universe messed up. And we don't feel the blessings that are present to us, right? So you do kind of need to pause, feel into what your version of calm is, with the idea of like, if I engage with blessings, I believe that should dot, dot, dot. Name it, claim it, and then lovingly see if you can't let that go. And the fourth card, we are right at the edge, getting ready to step out of the labyrinth. Oh, take a nice deep breath in. We've seen the places that we are worried that we don't have the power within us. Or if we claim that power, it will upset the world around us. We've seen the way that we need to let go of how we hold our fears, our wounds, and let go of the expectations that if I let this go and if I do this, then dot, 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 let that go. And now it's what action or new perception will support my journey. And the card that came forward is from the Sacred Witness part of the deck as well. And so it's that archetypal pattern and medicine of homecoming. I just love this card. Beautiful robin energy coming home to the nest. And the homecoming energy invites us into, in this deck, remembering that no matter where we have flown off to, our heart is always welcoming us home. Our soul is always welcoming us home. So often we cut ourselves off from blessings. We cut ourselves off from guidance. We cut ourselves off to hearing what actions will help us come back to center again, because we feel like we've strayed too far from home, or that home, we're not worthy to return home. And this card invites us to, one, look at what we call home. So reclaiming home to become this internal place, a dwelling within our heart, that we're coming home to ourselves, to our body, to our heart, to our soul. And that no matter how squirrely our mind has gotten us off this path, all we have to do is be willing to come home again. And the blessings that are there are right there waiting. So this is the spread for this labyrinth one, of this journey of willingness to engage life with blessings. And we started off in this place of, let me move myself up there. Sorry about that. Looking at the way our relationship with personal wants might sabotage us. Then exploring how can I hold differently the unresolved wounds and the fact that wounds will be a part of my life. How can I hold that differently? What do I need to let go of in order to engage with blessings? A remembrance that we have a hidden expectation that really wants everything to be calm and hunky-dory and great. But we need to remember that that's not holism and that blessings come in ways that we don't always see or understand or match what we want, right? So it's going back to that. Oops, where is he? There he is. Going back to the crow. Doesn't always match. And as I move throughout the day, how can I move with the energy of homecoming? The energy that allows me to pause, see where I'm at, if I'm in alignment with being in my heart and my soul. And if not, breathe in and out and simply ask, how can I come home? Come home to my heart, come home to who I am. So that is our May reading. It's a little bit longer. It's more of a practice this time than a shorter one. I hope that this is helpful and that you can refer back to this and continue to make this spread your own. Again, you can ask different questions with you on this journey as you're working with that, or you just keep working with the blessings, rinse and repeat. Let these cards get you started, and then maybe pick new cards as you feel like you're done with that question and you're ready for the next iteration of that question and pull a new card, maybe for number 2 or number 3 or number 4 in there as you are working with that. And ultimately, remember that this is a journey, right? That, all right, moving myself around again. That this is a journey, the healing journey, the spiritual awakening journey, the journey, what I like to call of reconnecting to your true self after life's experiences sometimes separate us from that, is all about allowing ourselves to witness what was, to honor the amazing strengths that we each have and that we gained through those experiences, allowing that medicine within the wound to start to feed us and to ultimately help us engage our life more with more willingness to be who we truly are. So I hope that this May reading from the Sacred Witness Oracle is helpful for you. If you want to bring home this deck, you can. It's now for sale. It had been only through our Kickstarter, but now we, thanks to our Kickstarter campaign, it is up and running. It's for sale through shop.unbridledchange.org, and the links will have it in the show notes. You can bring it home. It's absolutely gorgeous, and the companion book that goes with it that holds the roots of it and deeper guided journeys and practices, pretty similar to what this was, is within here, which is Trauma Informed Enlightenment. It's a beautiful book, but it really is a roadmap and a guide to working with it. If you want to dive deeper into the teachings and the suits that are in there, take a look. We always have live classes up and running. Right now, we're currently working on a series and getting ready to do our first immersion or online workshop with the body being, so befriending and awakening to the wisdom that's held in the body being. And that is getting ready to start. The clicks are click below for what classes are up and running. And I hope to see you in all the different spaces, offering you light, love, and joy. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.